I'm Rob Kelsey. I live in Municibid, New York, which is outside of Rochester. My spouse and I own a cat hotel. It's a feline-only boarding facility, and we've used Municibid quite a few times for projects that we needed to do around our office. One of the big ones that we got was a large glass partitioned wall that we used as kind of like a viewing area so that the cats can see out, humans can see in. And we made that into like a playroom space so that the cats can get out and stretch their legs. And then we just recently got a order or a bid for a bunch of hand railing and spindles for an expansion project that we're working on right now. We've been doing our little home business for about 7 years, and I've been playing with Municibid for probably 3 of those 4 years. I worked for a sewage treatment plant, and I had some exposure, like a lot of exposure to some sewage, and I ended up coming down with salmonella and C. diff. And part of the recovery from that, I ended up having reactions to the medications that they gave me to fix what I was going through. So now I got neuropathy problems. I still have digestive problems. So they obviously didn't want me back in the sewage treatment plant. And we had an outbuilding on our property already. And my spouse was in the veterinary field for quite some time. She wasn't a vet tech, but she worked in the office for quite some time. So we had a lot of experience. Plus, we had a lot of our own cats too. Okay, we only have 3. Some people, when they say a lot, means we have 20, but no, we only have 3 of our own. So because I was having a hard time moving around, we had to figure out a way for me to generate income. And we just thought, hey, maybe we can do a little home business, watching cats while friends and family are on vacation. And then we never really advertised, but word got around, and within a year of actually doing this legally, because a lot of people do pet sitting, but they do it under the table. We decided right from the get-go that we would do it all on the books. Within a year, we had so much business that both myself and my spouse were doing it as a full-time job. As long as no customers are coming, if you want to go out and work on the cats in your pajamas, you can. Just walk in the backyard and get to work. A lot of vets with COVID have stopped doing the boarding at their facilities because a lot of people stopped going on vacations. And the people that were going to do housework still needed to have a place to take their cats. And some brave people were still going out, so we still had cats throughout the pandemic. But it's definitely something now, not that I ever wish to be sick again, but I wish I had started the business a long time ago, because you're your own boss, couple hours in the morning, couple hours at night. And like I said, traffic is just making sure you don't get attacked by the squirrels on the way out to the office. Honestly, the first thing that we bought though was the projectors. We bought some like projectors to connect to your computer so you can display your screens on the wall. But honestly, the first purpose of that projector was to do the little Halloween programs. That it was just something that I never had any kids, and I always loved those little peanut movies, and I figured, I didn't have any kids, but I've always wanted one. So I figured what better way to have some fun with some kids and make sure that those peanut movies never go away. And we had our local fire department has a pavilion that's right on the Erie Canal. So we brought in a bunch of hay and a couple loads of leaves and made a big leaf pit for the kids to jump in. Brought donuts, and just because of the concept of the movies, they had toast in the movie, so we brought a toaster down, and if anyone wanted toast, we give them toast. It was kind of fun, just a night out on the town. And we did it for like 3 years in a row, and then the pandemic came around, so maybe this coming year I'll do it again. Well, for one thing, you definitely can't charge admission, because there's rules about that. I made sure that that was an okay thing to do through the town before I proposed it. I made little flyers and put them in restaurants, and there's a daycare that's right behind my home. I gave it to them, the little flyers to let them know that there would be a free event down at the canal. Local restaurant people, they were enthused about it. And actually my local Country Mac store, which is like a garden outdoor store, they stock hay and straw for farm animals. And I went to them, told them what the concept was of what I wanted to do, and they actually let me borrow the hay, well, straw, for the event. And then whatever bales were damaged, I had to pay for those. But going to a couple local vendors, I was able to get a bunch of fun stuff for free. I really didn't pay anything for advertising. The only thing that I did pay out of pocket was basically the donuts, cider, and I brought pizza for the adults too, in case they wanted something to snack on. But the kids had an absolute ball playing in the leaves, and I think a lot of the adults had more fun watching the kids than I even did. It may be a little mushy, but I think there's too much hate and violence in TV right now. Every primetime show seems to be about cops or investigations, and there's no more like Cosby Show type stuff anymore. And we're living in a world where one tweet gets blown out of proportion, and we need to go back to actually picking up the phone and talking to people rather than playing on our phones, texting to people, because people are just losing touch with how to actually communicate with people and how to respect people. And I think bringing the community together and showing how you can do stuff together and have a good time without saying that person doesn't look like me, so I don't like them or whatnot. Where the Peanuts, they were all different colored, boys and girls, and they all got along well, mostly good. But I don't know, I just think that the world really is kind of heading in a terrible place, and those older shows really kept some of the morals that I think the newer generation doesn't really have anymore. When Thanksgiving came around, as a child, I remember, and I'm 51 now, it's like that was like the thing that I waited for to come on TV, was those animated programs, because they were they had happy outcomes. You didn't have to sit through half an hour of hearing somebody that died or got shot or stabbed, and it was something that the family all got together and sat down and actually paid attention. And then you would depending on the season, you would make or decorate cookies afterwards, or decorate or go out and cut the tree down for Christmas. So it was just something that brings back the childhood, and that being an adult and not having a kid, that kind of I don't have that happy energy around my house anymore, because I don't have a kid to be happy and interested about watching those shows. Like I said at the beginning, I live in a small community called Municibid, New York, and just down the street from my house, there's a small used bookstore called Books, Etc. And they're very small. So when I say they do programs, it's like maybe 12 people can fit in the room. They do programs that are free, all different types of programs. It can be just like getting together to study the Bible, crafting programs. The owner of the bookstore, he used to be a teacher. I think he was more of a history teacher, but he did a lot of theater stuff too. So part of also why I did that Charlie Brown stuff was he would yearly make a little adult program down at the pavilion. And we were, long-term friends with them because we've been living in this community for 11 years. And that was one of the first places that, everyone's told to go down and say hi to the bookstore people because they know everybody in the community. So we got introduced to them quite early, and I liked the idea that he had a bunch of free programs. So I was like, hey, why don't we, some of the locals that always come down here for your programs, why don't we just have a night where we just do nothing? Everybody brings like a little dish to pass, nothing super fancy. And we'll just sit down and watch a movie together. And they're usually comedy movies so that it's a little lighthearted. And then we'll do some holiday stuff too. But that just came about to say, life's very busy. Let's just have a night together and just do nothing. So we'll buy a pizza from across the street. Everyone will bring like some cheese or some cookies, and some people will bring some wine, and we'll share a bottle or two, maybe 3. Okay, sometimes it's 4. But it's, it's a nice little community to live in, and they're super nice people, and all the people that show up there are super fun. And they're all the way from teenagers all the way up to like 90-year-old people that show up to that place to sit down and watch a movie with us. And being a bookstore and being small, I don't have the projector physically mounted on the ceiling yet. So when I go down with a computer to hook up the projector, we got to get a big stack of books and stack it up on a chair so that it's projected at the right height so everyone can see. But it's all fun. We all have a great time. Municibid is the first auction site that I've ever visited. I do know that there's others that exist. I looked at one, but the platform for bidding and to view the items seemed kind of jumbled and hard to find stuff, where your site seems, if you want to look for a vehicle, you can just click on a button and then you have your vehicles. If you want to click on a region, you can click on a region. It was quite easy to sort and look through the items that I might be interested in. And I still do that. The real challenge I find is there's items that I would love to bid on. I'm looking for this particular item today. Either no one's got them up for bid, or they're just too far away to make it worthwhile. To say that I haven't driven 600 miles to pick something up. Spindles were, I look over to the side because I actually have them, some of them mounted already. I live in New York, right near Lake Ontario, and I had one of those down near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that was a little bit of a hike, and I had to do that in a one-day trip. So I got up early, took off, loaded up the vehicle, and got back all in the same day. Municibid has saved kicking around quite a bit of money by getting used items that were in very good shape, and the spindles that we purchased They were way more than what we needed at the time, but we are planning on a expansion to our business. So we'll be able to use the remainders of the spindles in the future. But the auction, I think I won that for like maybe $250. And we probably picked up about $5,000 worth of material. Just the railing that I used, that probably would have cost us $1,500 in the materials. And like I said, I think I picked that one up for $250. I've found my experience with Municibid that I don't bother waiting to the last minute to try to get the best price. I already know what the price is of the product that I bid on, if I were to go out and buy it. So I don't bother putting in a bid, you know, and again, it's going to depend on what you're bidding on. If you're bidding on a high ticket item, you know you're going to spend some money on it if you're going to go out and buy it on your own. So when I do my bidding, I usually bid what I'm actually willing to pay for. That way I don't have to constantly look over my shoulder and keep updating the bid if it gets outbid. It's frustrating to get that email that says that you've been outbid, so you might as well just get it in there and let it ride its wave. The only things that I've actually not won are things that I knew that I had to underbid because I had to travel to and still make it worthwhile. I wasn't that upset about it because I know that there's going to be more stuff coming through. The search is pretty awesome. You can find a lot of different unique items and it's super easy. I guess one thing that I also wouldn't mind saying is that I like Municibid because you don't have to pay for your bids. I have seen and heard that there are other sites out there that you actually have to pay to bid on items, and all you need to do is make a login ID. Just that end post, if I were to go out and buy that end post all by itself, that probably would have been over $300. And all those spindles came with the auction, and they all match. So
That's
I mean, like,
beautiful.
they were super detailed, and I was surprised. All of those also came with that same auction. So we have lots of extra. That's a bin full of more of the spindles, and those were the newel posts, the bigger ones on the end. So I was pretty happy with that auction.